already started, too bad.
Alright, we'll be here for fucking 10 minutes.
Nah, not 10. I got shit to do.
I can put the trophy up front. That's perfect right there.
Alright.
Why did we have it like last time? We might have to adjust it a little bit.
Podcast.
Let's just adjust it. Might have to go back a little bit here. A little more. In there. That works. That works. So remember, today we're talking about wide receivers. We're going to talk about a couple picks. What happened between the last two podcasts with commissionership. And we're also going to be talking about Gilman and Brophy. Maybe later on if you think of pick it.
Are you gonna address
That'll be done August 20th. But
but I want you to come back to the league. I want you to
you'll hear that. You'll hear that when we're talking, and as well on top of that, like, I know you guys can get off topic and stuff, but we gotta try and stay on. We're gonna go by tiers, and we're going wide. We're almost gonna cover the top 60 wide receivers. Alright, you guys ready? Because I'm not.
Ben ready. Come on, commish.
Here we go. Gotta get our theme song, and I just already shut it off. That's how we go. That's a good way to start. There we go. Here we go. Welcome back. Episode 4, Legends of Lawtown podcast. Commish Babs here. Ex-commish. Back to Commish Babs. Over here, our two-time champion, Redzone, over there.
Red Life.
Mr. Spreadsheets himself. A champion from 2 years ago. Now, last time we had a podcast, it kind of went south a little bit. A little too much drinking going on, but it was still a good time. We had to bring back for redemption. I think both of you guys are here and prepared this time. Are you guys happy to be back?
Yeah, I wasn't really drinking that much. I could have passed the breathalyzer. All business. But tonight I'm ready though. I won't.
You were upset last time because you had so much to say about running backs and you didn't even get to say it. Are you gonna calm down this time? Like when we actually have a discussion?
I just couldn't get my words out. It was a tough one.
All right, that happens. So let's a couple things today. We're gonna talk about We're gonna talk about Brophy and Gilman. Those are our teams that we're covering today. Talk about wide receivers, of course. Odell Beckham right here. Shout out to Pat O'Leary. Already picked him. We'll talk about some of the picks that have already been made. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. And no, it's not about your nose. I know that's the biggest thing in the room, but this is a little bit bigger. It's
whose nose? Because I got a pretty big nose too.
Just pointing over there to AJ over there.
Okay.
But between podcasts, obviously what happened. I quit as commissioner, and then the league thought it wasn't right, so I'm back in. I thought I made my point. Okay, you can make that face all you want. I will air my grievances to the league when they're all here together in person, except Willie Cox. They're all here in person on August 20th. I still don't think it's fair if someone wants to step down that someone else should take over. And people say I bluff all the time about like quitting, and I just showed that I'm not bluffing. Like I really want to step down at some point. I love doing this podcast. I love doing things for the league, but I think my time is up. You've had this league in the past for a couple years at the helm, and you passed it along, and I picked up the pieces. Why can't someone else do that?
This is not fucking Dr. Phil.
Turn it down.
This ain't fucking Dr. Phil, man. Let's fucking roll the fucking podcast.
You don't want
Nobody wants to hear about this guy
Do you want to say
fucking
anything
crying
about
like a
it?
baby.
We got a lot of stuff to work out. We'll work it out as a league, and that it's not our place to speak for the league right now. So I think we should address it later. But we're glad to have you back.
I can read through your bullshit. You're not happy at all. You're not happy. Anyways, let's just talk about what happened. So the last time we had a podcast, 3 picks were made already. It was Zeke Elliott, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. Between last podcast to this podcast, 4 picks are made. And Sheets, you're on the clock right now. There's a little rumor going on that you might make your pick today. And with it being wide receivers, it could have something to do with what's going on right here in front of us.
Yeah, rumors are true. It's happening.
Rumors are always true. Rumors are always facts.
So right now we're at 4:45 on the podcast. What time are you gonna drop your pick? just so the viewers know, they could stay tuned.
They want to skip everything else. They want to skip.
No, they don't want to skip it. But what time do you think you'll make your pick at?
We'll just call it. We'll call it at 45 minutes or 35 minutes.
Are we even to last that long?
How about 40 minutes?
We'll call it 40.
40 minutes.
I feel like we're gonna run a little long. We got a lot to talk about today.
All right, he's making his pick
40.
in 35 minutes from now. Let's go.
Can I talk now? Thank you. So, picks right here. So, No Guts, No Glory went 4th overall. He picked Julio Jones. Antonio Brown, which a lot of people agree fell to Pat Brophy at number 5. Wilcox going with LaShawn McCoy, the 4th running back off the board. And then Odell Beckham himself going to O'Leary at 7. Guys, the consensus no matter what for wide receivers is AB, Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham. What are your thoughts, Sheets, on Julio Jones going before AB to No Guts, No Glory?
I'm not a fan of the pick. I think the top 3 are obviously solidified as the top 3. But I do think AB is kind of on his own tier because I think he has the same upside as those 3 guys, but also is more consistent and has a more steady floor from week to week. That's something that I look for personally. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them. But yeah, I think a couple fractions of a point probably separate Julio and Odell like weekly. But I think AB is a more consistent option. I just think he's been one of the most consistent fantasy players in fantasy history. So I don't see the purpose. But if he's got a feeling on it, I mean, I don't hate it. I just wouldn't do it myself.
So here's the thing on my end. Antonio Brown last year, he averaged 13.4 points a game. And he played in 15 games, whereas Julio played 14 games. He averaged 12.6. So you can harp on like, is that 0.8 a big difference right there? I'll give you a second there. But the touchdowns as well too. Julio Jones had 6 less than Antonio Brown, but Julio makes it up in yards. And in only 14 games, he had 1,400 yards. If you add 2 more games to that could be easily 16 or even 1,700 yards there as well. So does No Guts think that Julio Jones is gonna end up playing all 16, have like 1,700 yards and maybe 12 and 10 touchdowns? If he gets it up to double digits, what's that? An extra 6-point touchdowns? An extra 24 points right there? Go ahead. I know you want to.
So Julio had that season that was last year when Matt Ryan had this crazy MVP season.
Yeah.
Do you think Matt Ryan's gonna repeat that year? I don't think he's gonna repeat what he did last year. So I see Julio dropping a little bit.
Yeah, but don't you think that Julio has Julio ever finished number 1? Has he ever finished as number 1 receiver on the board?
As far as I know,
he's always
as number 1.
He's never.
Has he ever finished at number 1?
Are we talking points per game or total points?
Total points.
Total points.
Yeah.
I know. I'm
Negative.
almost positive that he hasn't.
He's always on that cusp of a couple years ago. I remember I picked Julio pretty early as well. He's gonna have this season. He's gonna have this season. I feel
But you weren't wrong. He always has a great
He's
season.
always there at the end. It's not a bad pick. At the same time.
I just feel
it's player's choice there.
We're splitting hairs at this point. The reason you draft these guys, the first 3 wide receivers off the board, is because they're not going to slip outside the top 5 unless they get hurt.
Those 3 guys, quote me on this. I would say they're all coin flips. Any one of those guys could.
I totally agree.
But I would bet money that all 3 of them finish within the top 5 wide receivers if they all play every game.
Is Odell the clear-cut number 3 behind them? Or does he have that shot to also go above him?
I think he's a couple steps ahead of Mike Evans, AJ
Well, that's the next
Green.
tier, which we'll get into just in a second. But I'm just saying, in that 3, that's a 3 right there. That's consensus top 3. Is he just gonna be the clear-cut 3 right there? Does he have a chance to finish number 1?
Oh, he got
absolutely
a damn good
any
chance.
Any chance that they all finish?
Sterling Shepard went down today. We don't know the details on his injury, but
that benefits Odell. Benefits Brandon Marshall. We can talk about later.
Yeah.
So next tier. So right now you're picking tonight, or so you say. Yep. Then Untitled and Duke goes, and we have a couple other picks after that. So the next tier of wide receivers: Mike Evans, Jordy Nelson, and AJ Green. So if we're just looking at those guys, and funny enough is we talk about the consensus of those 3 at the top, no matter what. Yet in our league last year, Jordy Nelson finished number 1 and Mike Evans finished number 2. Yet they kind of are slipping a little bit like that. What's your thoughts on those 2 guys?
Want me to go? So you're talking about just Jordy and Evans?
Yeah,
You
just
don't
talking
care
about
AJ?
those. Well, you could throw in AJ. It just I didn't want to put AJ in that category. I'm just talking about how they finished 1 and 2 last year. Yet
Right.
they're kind of in the back of the draft, and
I
people are
feel-
scared of them. People are scared of touching them.
I don't think anybody's scared of them personally. I mean, maybe I'm getting the wrong sense, but to me, I'm gonna include AJ. I'm just gonna throw him in there just to say I think AJ is actually on his own tier. I think he's a step above those two receivers, and I know they were great last year. Jordy is actually probably the most slept on wide receiver in fantasy. Period. He's consistently a top 10 guy. Never has issues when he's on the field. He's a touchdown machine. But I just think Mike Evans was the beneficiary of a ridiculous number of targets. I think he could possibly repeat this year, but I just don't. I think that team wants to be run heavy. They also had a shit ton of carries last year. I think that's going to continue to go that way. They're going to try and be a balanced offense. But of that group, I would say of Evans and Jordy, I would probably there's such a coin flip. So like even more so than the top 3, I think those two are just dead even to me. I don't think there's any preference either way. I guess maybe a slight advantage.
Well, Jordy finished he had 13 points per game last year, and Mike Evans had 12.8 points last year in their games. And AJ
Was
Green,
Jordy number 1 in points?
Jordy was number 1, but he was only by 3 points.
Right.
But just even going on that, AJ Green, although he played 10 games last year, he had 12 points in a game, like per game going into that.
I just think, I mean, maybe you give a very, very slight edge to Jordy because he's on the Packers offense. But I just, like Mike Evans is a red zone guy there. I mean, maybe Cameron Brate steps up and takes some touchdowns from him. But other than that, they're so even to me. They're like a very similar type of player to me.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I've never been a fan of Mike Evans. I've never owned him in any fantasy leagues. I'm in 7 leagues a year. Never touched him. Never will. I don't like him. He's gonna be a top 10 receiver this year. Not on my team. I don't like the guy.
So Mike Evans, let's say 5 years from now, because he's young and he's got a quarterback that everyone likes in Jameis Winston. Do you see Mike Evans in a couple years after some of these top guys start deteriorating and start lowering down? Does Mike Evans jump into that like top spot, like maybe being like a Julio almost, that he's kind of like in that top tier, getting picked in first round almost every single year?
If he does, I will have to bite my tongue because I've been saying that he's a fluke for the past 3 years. I looked stupid after that last year.
Yeah,
but I'm still on the.
I think if he has another good season, like he could be a round 1 pick every single year. Whether that's like at the end of round 1, but he still will be there. Like
here's a caveat I would say to that. Out of those 5 receivers we've been talking about, so the top 3, and then we're talking Evans and we're talking Jordy.
Yeah.
Out of those guys, he's on clearly the worst offense of that group, and that's a big factor because just opportunity is less by default. And I don't have the numbers.
Wait. All right.
I would say
I don't have the exact percentages, but I know at the end, the second half of the season, they were very close to the league in run percentage. They ran as much as any team in the league, and that worries me going forward because they've already come out in camp and saying they want Jaquiz to be like a big mainstay. They want Doug when he comes back to be a big part of that offense.
I just want to tie this in. Who has a better offense, Tampa Bay or Cincinnati Bengals?
Cincinnati, without question.
Okay, Tampa Bay or the New York Giants?
I actually think the Giants. So, this is me speaking on Odell. I think Odell is probably the most talented wide receiver in the NFL, and I think he transcends that offense a little bit. But I still think they're a second-tier offense. So they're not in the elite, but I think they're there. And Eli just loves the guy. He just beats him.
Where's Tampa Bay? Since you're
Just 1 tier below the Giants, basically.
That's fair. I don't like Tampa Bay's offense.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they're
Jameis
slow. I think their pace of play and their points per game is a little bit lower than what you want for an elite receiver.
Moving on to the next tier, so those 3 guys get picked. I know we didn't really harp on AJ too well, but everyone knows he's still going to be up there.
He's the mainstay.
He's still up there
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Going on to the next tier. Again, we're going to go through some tiers. ADPs are going to be all over the place.
Right.
Everyone has their own values on things, and in this league specifically, ADP goes out the window. If you have a certain pick at one area, you might reach 12 picks like later on because you just want that guy. And we have so many trades going on. So just look at that.
I feel like a lot of people that traded picks and shit, I don't think they really figured out like, oh, they traded this pick for this reason. Like,
Yeah.
me, when I traded my picks, I traded both my first and second round picks. I knew who was going at those picks, and I knew I didn't want any of those guys.
Yeah.
But did everybody do that before they traded their picks?
Some did. Some didn't. Some didn't. Some like trading. Like Willie Cox.
Like, I was nervous trading early, but I'm very happy we're doing the draft this week, next week.
Yeah.
So, all those guys going
to the next tier. So, the 6 are now off the board. So, we're going to the 7th, 8th, and 9th guys that are going to be off the board for wide receivers. And that's T.Y. Hilton, Michael Thomas, Dez Bryant. So, Michael Thomas this year is now taking that Brandon Cooks role. Last year, he finished 9th overall in the Yahoo standard scoring for us. T.Y. Hilton finished 5th. So he was in the top 5 last year. Dez Bryant fell off. He went to 28th. I mean, you could say a rookie quarterback for Dez Bryant. But they had a good offense last year, too, as well. And Dez last year, just going to pull it up real quick. He played in 13 games last year. He had 9.7 points per game. Whereas Michael Thomas had 10.9. T.Y. Hilton had 11.3. This is going to be kind of tricky, and I'm just going to break it down real quick. T.Y. Hilton, it could depend on Andrew Luck's arm. We already know he could be starting the season on the PUP list. He could be missing the first 6 weeks. Do you think that T.Y. questions, like, you can be answered afterwards, do you think T.Y. is an elite receiver that he can use any quarterback? That's one. Number 2, if Zeke does get suspended for 4 games, does Dez actually go up in value those first 4 games at least to kind of get you going? And number 3, Michael Thomas. There's no Brandon Cooks there anymore. I feel like Brandon Cooks was the guy that was leaving Michael Thomas open one-on-one, that he can make the plays. Now that Michael Thomas is the focal on that offense, do you think that secondaries are just going to try to lock in and zone in on him, and a Willie Snead might benefit instead? Go ahead.
I'm going to hit on Michael Thomas first. No matter what, Drew Brees spreads the ball around. Everybody's going to get theirs. Michael Thomas will be a very successful receiver this year. Drew Brees is not going to force the guy the ball. If he's getting double covered, they're going to put their best corner on him, give him help. He's not going to force the ball to him. He's going to feed other people. Like you said, Willie Snead might get some more. Freaking Kobe Fleener is going to be a valuable tight end this year. So it's not all going to be on Michael Thomas. I'm shocked that he's a first-round pick. I could see him in the 3rd round, late 2nd at best, but first-round pick, that's fucking crazy.
And he's somebody that if someone passes up on him, he's going in that early 2nd round, people are going to look at him at the end of the 2nd, like, maybe I should take him. But I think he's a 3rd rounder. Like, I think some people might draft him as a wide receiver 1. Like, unless you go wide receiver. But if you go running back, wide receiver, some people might take him as a wide receiver 1, which I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either, but I feel like he will be this year.
Sheets, what do you got to say about anything?
So, just to make your first point on T.Y. Hilton, T.Y. Hilton is attached to Luck at the hip.
Yeah.
He loses when he doesn't play with Andrew Luck. His points per game in fantasy go down by almost 4 points per game, which is like, that's a huge drop for such a small sample size. I really don't trust T.Y. Hilton right now with our current draft strategy. I think you guys luckily cannot see much lower than that. T.Y. Hilton to me is a supreme risk right now. Like, I do think you hedge your bet because you're assuming that Luck will come back at some point this year, and if he does, he's going to be right back into his top 10 form. But I don't trust him right now. So for my pick, like, let's say I was in the range right now that we're talking about, I would not take him. I would pass him for the next guy on my list.
So you have those 3: Michael Thomas, T.Y. Hilton,
right.
Dez.
Yeah.
How about Dez?
Yeah, I would take Dez over T.Y.
You take Dez?
So let me just go off on all 3 of these guys.
Okay.
So Michael Thomas, I do agree with what
long.
you're saying, but I think that's a positive from Michael Thomas with the way he spreads the ball around. That's an extremely efficient offense. They're going to spread the ball around regardless, so the defenses can't key on him. So that whole narrative of him becoming the number 1 and getting double teamed, that's not going to happen. And he's stepping into the Marcus Colston role, which is established as the primary red zone target, which is huge in our league.
Who's the number 1 value pick on that offense?
Yeah, I think it's obviously Snead and maybe
it's not Fleener.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, Ginn is going
I personally don't really believe in Fleener right now. I think he has to show me a little bit more. But I do think there's a lot of value in that offense. But
yeah.
And then lastly,
value too.
Yeah, exactly. So Dez Bryant, I feel like people are sleeping on him in a big way, and I know that a lot of the narrative that I hear from the experts is his first 4 to 6 weeks he matches up against 4 of the 5 best corners in the NFL, which sucks. It really does suck. I do think Zeke's suspension hurts him a lot though, because I don't think he's the type of player that benefits from garbage time, because he's the primary passing target. The Cole Beasley might shoot up draft boards for the first 6 weeks if Zeke's is suspended for half the year. Dez is a beast, though. I mean, he dropped in relation to his stats, but at the end of the year, the last game of the year, he had a 2-touchdown, 160-yard game against
really
the Packers.
Good. Yep.
So he's starting to gel with Dak. I really believe that.
Yeah.
And his per game averages have not dropped substantially. They did drop, but learning a new quarterback, a rookie quarterback that was scared to throw the ball downfield to start the season.
My problem with Dez is that he has that talent that he could be talked about being in that first round, and sometimes he really isn't.
Yeah.
But I think he's just too much of a hothead. Like, you see him on that sideline, he'll be yelling at Dak. He'll be yelling, "Give me the ball, give me the ball."
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing and a bad thing as well. It kind of ruins chemistry. I think, like, he's going to have those...
Jerry Jones wants him to be that way, and he wants him to be the alpha, and he puts trust in him. So when he demands the ball, he'll get the ball. And that's been proven over the past few years. So if I'm picking at the turn here, I don't hesitate on Dez.
Yeah. So if people are seeing Dez down here, no, you should grab him. Like, you should take him over at T.Y.
The fact that Dez goes all the way down to the second round, third round turn in some drafts is obscene to me. I really think that's obscene.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
just
that's
to think, like, you can have a crazy ass roster where you have David Johnson. Who can you pick right here? Did we say Michael Thomas is going there?
Well, Michael Thomas kind of going earlier than that. Like,
Probably
these three
around.
receivers that we're talking about going earlier than that.
Dez tends to go later.
Well, right now, what we're about to talk to the next is Amari Cooper and, like,
Dez might fall to that spot, though.
So you can start with David Johnson, Dez, and possibly like an Amari Cooper.
If you're not playing in our league, you can grab Dez there. I think Dez is going to go earlier than that. But I think in any other league, you'll get a David Johnson and Dez, and that's an awesome 1-2 punch.
Of course.
But I do like what you said, the gelling between Dak and Dez, and it does take time. It takes a whole year. That wasn't even going to be the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season. Right. It was right in the preseason when they started, starting to work together.
Yeah.
And especially after having a great season, and a lot of people thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl last year. Yeah. They know that they can get there. Dez probably feels that they can get there. And I guess, with the alpha, that, hey, we can get there, we can do this. Even the fucking ball.
But I will caveat that Zeke is a big factor for him, because if teams are going to key against Dak, I don't know if he's up for it. I don't know how I feel about Dak, to be honest. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. But if defenses are going to say Zeke's not there, let them run, or maybe I don't know, McFadden in that line.
Okay, so let's go off to the next group. It's a two-grouper. So this is like the 10th and 11th wide receiver of the board, which will be going into the end of this area right here, end of the second and the third. Amari Cooper, Doug Baldwin. Amari Cooper finished 14th last year in standard. Doug Baldwin finished 10th. So both, when you look at them, I know you over there like Doug Baldwin, and you can go off on him a little bit. They're not like the sexiest picks around, especially when you have someone like a Crabtree who finished 11th last year in standard scoring, finished like 3 spots ahead of Cooper, but those are the next 2 picks off the board. What do you guys think about that?
I love Amari Cooper, but when is he going to go from being really good to elite?
Yeah.
Is this his year? This is his 3rd year in the league. This should be his year to jump into that. Amari Cooper was drafted very early. What was he, the 2nd pick in the draft? 3rd pick in the NFL draft.
In the NFL draft. Yeah, he was a top pick.
He was a top 5 pick, whatever. But he's made for this shit.
Yeah.
So when is he going to go above and beyond? When is Derek Carr going to throw him that long ball? Because we know he could catch it. So I love Amari Cooper. I've owned him a couple times, and he's been frustrating to own. But this might be his year where he is like a wide receiver 1 every week. I like him a lot more than I like Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin last year, what do you have, 10 touchdowns? 15 touchdowns?
Doug Baldwin had 7 touchdowns last year, averaged 9.7 points a game, and he had 1,100 yards in 16 games.
I thought he had more. Doug Baldwin, like, to think 2 years ago, he was like always on the waiver wire, people dropped him and shit. Bro, he's really good. But in that 3rd round, I don't like him. Even if he gets stats like that, I don't like him.
That seems very consistent, though, for his last 2 seasons. Like, Doug Baldwin's giving you what... He's not a sexy pick. You look at the Seattle... It's something like that triggers in your mind. You look at Seattle, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin. You don't think of, like, a wide receiver combination, QB combination that they trust each other. But they've been proving it the last 2 years.
The last 2, yes.
So I love Doug Baldwin. I think...
Sell him to me.
I think finding him in the 3rd round is unbelievable value, in my opinion. He has finished in the top 10 the last 2 years, and he's a touchdown threat at all times. And he's like, obviously Jimmy Graham can sneak into some of that red zone targets, but he gets a lot of red zone targets, which is huge in our league. I'm of the opinion that finding consistency in the top 10 of wide receiver is something you only find at the very, very top. So you look at the top 3 guys, and there's like 2 guys every year that kind of hover around the top 10 league. But he's a guy that if he falls outside the top 10 this year, and by the end of the season, I would be shocked. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect him to crack the top 5. I don't expect him to crack the top 6 probably, but he'll be right at that 10 mark. And if you take him in the 3rd round, he's going to be your second wide receiver almost certainly. And even if he's not, you have a guaranteed wide receiver 1 every week.
So you buy him in the 2nd, you get him in the 3rd round or whatever.
Right.
He's your second wide receiver. He's the top 2nd wide receiver out of any wide receiver 2. Like he's
totally
beating them all. Like
totally
he's at that very, very end of that wide receiver 1 where the wide receiver 2 is right there.
Totally agree.
You get him 11 off the board. Off of wide receivers, he's going to be the 11th wide receiver.
So if you look at fantasy football as I want to win each position individually, you win that position almost every week.
Yeah, I
guaranteed.
agree.
Because if he's your second guy, you win that slot. You see what I'm saying? Just to jump into Amari Cooper, I'm very hot and cold on Amari Cooper. He reminds me a lot of, this is a weird comparison, but Chris Johnson when he was in his prime. He's amazing between the 20s, but he's fucking awful in the red zone, man. He just can't get. The stat I just was talking to Kamish about earlier today. He's 59th of all players in red zone targets over the past 2 seasons. It's like unbelievably bad. And in that offense where only the wide receivers seem to get targets, I just don't understand why he can't get red zone work. It seems like he just can't get open in small spaces, so he needs to use his elite speed to break open. He could make the jump this year. Corey makes a good point.
Yeah.
He could legit take the step to elite, and I wouldn't hesitate to take him at the back end of the 2nd round. But it's so much uncertainty that if him and Baldwin fall to me, why would I not take the sure thing? There's no reason for me to pass on Baldwin for him.
One question.
Yeah.
We know how Andrew Luck's shit is right now. Baldwin, Amari Cooper, and T.Y. Hilton are on the board right at that pick.
Yeah.
Who do you pick out of those?
That's a really tough one. I wish it like by that point we'll have a lot more time advanced in our draft, so we might have a better prognosis on Luck. But if Luck is out for 6 weeks, let's say like he's out 6 weeks, I would lean Baldwin. I really would. I really think Baldwin is better at that value because
I don't think that's
to lose six weeks of production is not a trivial. That's a big loss.
Is Cooper going to finish top 20 this year in wide receivers?
I lean yes. I feel like Crabtree is going to take a small step back. I think his red zone target rate is unsustainable because they just pass to him every time. And I mean, I've been a beneficiary of that because I've been on the Crabtree bandwagon. But I don't see how defenses will not stop locking that up. And Cooper's got to start finding a way to find some red zone plays.
Let's move on. We have 2 more tiers left.
Okay.
And then I'll show you what we're going to do after that. Our next tier of players that are going to be going, this is like your 3rd rounder right here, your mid-3rd round. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Cooks. One of them finished top 10 last year. 2 of them finished in the 30s. And 1 finished just above in the top 20. Consensus all around, like just looking at it, Allen Robinson, is he going to fall off again? Last year, people looking, 2 years ago, amazing year with Blake Bortles. Last year fell off. Do you even think he's going to go down to the 40 range? Or because if Bortles, they're saying he threw 5 interceptions. Let's just break down one by one here. Allen Robinson will be our first one.
So
do you think that with Blake Bortles now on his way down, do you think Allen Robinson is going to be hurt as well? Is he even worth the 3rd round pick? Would you just pass on him?
Me personally, I'm passing on Allen Robinson almost everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not high on him at all. I don't think he's as bad as he was last year, and I don't predict him to go much lower than he did last year in terms of his final results. I'm obviously Jacksonville. They're coming out and screaming to the public at every chance they have that they want to run the ball and they want to focus on their young defense. They want to slow the fucking game down. And you know what? I mean, it could be training camp speak, it could be coach speak, but at the same time, we all know Blake Bortles sucks. Like they want to hide him. They want to hide him from the NFL. He's not good enough to be a 40. He can't pass the ball 40 times and win. So Allen Robinson could have big weeks. I mean, he was great 2 years ago. I don't think he's that good, obviously, because he benefited off garbage time. And then I don't think he's as bad as he was last year. Although I definitely lean much more heavily towards his production last year than 2 years ago.
Can I just say something about him
Sure.
real quick? is that last year he had 150 targets, but only 73 receptions.
Right.
We don't, and you're not gonna break down everything right now where the ball was going and stuff.
Okay.
I do remember a couple of times where Allen Robinson had the balls in his hand, he dropped it, and he had some frustrating moments.
I do agree.
But for 150 targets, Jordy Nelson had 152, Evans had 171, Antonio Brown had 154, Odell 169, Ty 155. And then Fitzgerald had 151, which we'll get into Fitzgerald later. And then it was Allen Robinson 150. So he was in the top 8 of targets like last season. So he's getting the looks at least.
Here's something that gets. There's so many variables in this equation. The problem is that you could have as many targets as you want. Eventually, the quality of target has to mean something.
Yeah.
The catchable ball rate on Allen Robinson was one of the lowest in the league last year. I don't have the exact number, but I just know that that's a fact.
Okay.
He was in the top 5 and five lowest catchable ball rates. So I don't even put it all on Bortles. I don't think he's an elite talent. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 or a high end wide receiver 2.
Do you want to say anything about Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson,
Quickly.
I really do like him. I think he's a stud, but I don't trust him. He's just week to week, totally different guy on the field.
All right.
And a lot of it in his elite season when Alex owned him and he won the championship, I feel like he got a lot of garbage time touchdowns.
DeAndre Hopkins. Now we found out Will Fuller's out. He's in this tier right here. Where you see him? Does he come back to his glory of being that one of those top picks?
So Team Redzone did bring DeAndre Hopkins to life. I had him when he blew up, blah, blah. If by chance I draft him again, it's going to be because I think in the back of my head he's going to go back into the wide receiver 1 talks.
Cheats?
So wait until the 5th round when I might take him.
When he got drafted in the second round, was the second round last year? When he got drafted in the second round last year, we were taking him under the belief that this guy's quarterback proof, but he's not. He's proven that he's not. He's walking into potentially a better quarterback situation with Tom Savage or Deshaun Watson.
But it's very unknown.
But even then, I don't trust him. But I mean, if you look at the people around his ADP, the wide receivers in his range, he's as good as any of them. So I could at that point you're tossing a coin with that group.
Sammy Watkins, your boy Sammy Watkins, top 5 wide receiver.
Yep.
Go ahead. You go ahead first, Sheets. Like you were telling me, I said he's boom or bust. He does have talent, but I also think it's the quarterback play as well. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the right quarterback for him if he was to be healthy for 16 games in a row. I think he needs to be on a better team. He does have that talent, but where do you see him? If he's healthy 16 games, barring injury, what's he going to do this season?
He's top 7, no question.
Top 7. So you're taking what he did last year, but you're going to take it down.
Well, last year he wasn't healthy. And here's... Look...
You're going on record right now saying he's top 7.
Well, if he's healthy, yeah.
Anything. This is all we're talking about.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
So, going into last year, I felt the same way. However, now we have a precedent set. So the same thing happened with Julio Jones when he had the same foot surgery, right?
Yeah.
So it took him about 2 seasons to get fully right, and then he blew up again.
Thank you, Reddit.
Okay. I didn't know that was on Reddit, but thank you for that. But there's so many factors hitting, like, just setting Sammy Watkins up for success. He averages, his per game averages are crazy. So he averages 4 catches a game, 70 yards a game, and more than half a touchdown a game. I mean, those are insane averages. Whenever he's on the field, he's elite. He's never been outside the top 12 when he's playing. So I don't see a scenario.
It's gonna
where
be a very telling year.
If you're risk averse, you shouldn't reach on him, right? Like, but I mean, he tends to be landing at the end of the third. Is where I tend to see him go. Maybe early 4th. I don't know where his ADP is shifting right now.
You take Watkins over Hopkins or Allen Robinson?
Definitely over Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
But again, the what it comes down to is if you're not confident in your first few picks and you don't feel steady, then you have to pass on him because he is an injury liability.
The next guy I want to talk about real quick is Brandon Cooks. He was 8th overall last year in standard scoring. Now he's going to Patriots. People can say whatever they want to say about the Patriots. How, we don't know what Brady's going to spread the ball. What's he going to do? He can't throw the deep ball. Blah blah blah. Where's Cooks going to land this year?
Brandon Cooks is going to get the targets that he needs. I know you're speeding it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's going to get the targets that he needs in New England. And I feel like he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver, hands down. Tom Brady's not going to force him the ball. He's still got Edelman. Edelman, I don't think, has ever finished in the top 10 wide receiver.
Do you think he's going to have inconsistent games where he's going to have a game where he's 25 points, but then the next week the Patriots are reading defenses, and you know what? We're not going to pass it to Cooks. He might have 2 points.
Cooks won't have any.
What's the
weeks this
lowest
year over
scoring game
25.
that Cooks will have this season? That's actually a good question.
2 points.
2 points. Like really, like what's the lowest scoring game that he'll have?
I mean,
He might have 0 because if he gets hurt.
I think.
You never know.
So last year he had a really good year, a really strong year. He put up a lot of yards, which is great for standard scoring leagues. I don't really feel like that's. Look, Tom Brady could have another all-time season and throw 50 touchdowns again, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's way more believable that the offense with all the running back acquisitions that we made is more balanced. I don't expect Brandon Cooks to be an elite receiver without question. He will have weeks where he blows up because he's a big play machine. But the problem is his consistency is not there. It wasn't even there in New Orleans where he was the clear number 1. And now he walks into a system where I know it's similar to New Orleans. Like there's a lot of weapons and we spread the ball around. But he's not the number 1 target because Gronk is the number 1 option.
He had 1,100 yards last year, 8 touchdowns. Do you see the yards going down, but the touchdowns going up? Do you think he gets double-digit touchdowns, but his yards will go under 1,000?
No, I think the Patriots' offense is methodical and moves the field by first downs. They don't move in big chunks, to be honest. That's at least historically. I see a lot of red zones where he's not super effective. Brandon Cooks has never been an effective red zone weapon.
So, do you think Brandon Cooks is more like a deep threat, or is he like an Edelman gets those first downs? An Edelman and a Chris Hogan are like the guys that will turn and get those short, scrappy yards right there to get that first down. Do you see Cooks doing that?
No, yeah, I do. I think Cooks can do all the routes. I think
Okay.
he has the full route tree. My problem is that where he's valued right now in fantasy, his surrounding ADP, right? So generally, players around his ADP are Jordan Reed, Isaiah Crowell, Drew Brees, players like Jarvis Landry. And then if you look at just wide receivers, you're looking at Demaryius Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Sammy Watkins.
You're getting way ahead of yourself there in some
No,
of these
I'm
guys.
just saying
I
that
know.
that's the ADP
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Like, so those ADPs, those players, I see all of those players as way higher upside.
Do you think
for
Cook should go in the
personally.
second round?
No.
No, okay. The last guy on this tier, Demaryius Thomas, Mr. Consistent, gets 1,000 yards. That's what you're guaranteed right there. Demaryius last year, 18th overall. He had 1,000 yards, only 5 touchdowns though last season. Weird quarterback play over there. You don't really know what's going to go on with Paxton Lynch and Semyon that are over there. He's the last guy in our tier right here, but I think he's the most consistent. It's another one of those things like if you want that safe pick, like a Doug Baldwin, if you know that you're getting him there, that's your safe pick. You consider the same thing with Demaryius Thomas, that's your safe pick. Yes or no?
Yep. There's not much to say about DT. He's the same guy.
You know what you're getting with him.
So
I think
He's safe, but he doesn't have the huge upside just because of the
Yeah.
quarterback situation. If
he's a safe wide receiver too.
So-
He's a safe, like if he's your
Yeah,
second
I guess
wide
it is
receiver.
close. High floor.
I would say
High
that
floor.
he's like the Frank Gore of wide receivers. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that he's gonna score 2 touchdowns in a week. I'll be surprised if he does that more than once. You know, but we'll see.
All right, next tier, guys. It's a long tier in this one. I'm gonna rattle off all the names. I know
Can
it's
you
gonna
give
be
me one of those while you rattle them off?
absolutely. I'm gonna rattle off all the names here.
The league is sponsored by Bud Light Lime. Sorry, little sponsorship.
Go ahead.
That's what pays the bills.
Well, Mr. Takeout lost his sponsorship after going 3-1 last year and blowing everything. But
Tough year.
guys, I'm gonna name a bunch of players right here, and these guys are gonna be more of your 4th, 5th, 6th round guys. I'm gonna say all these names,
Me and Ton have a lot of picks there,
so you can harp on anybody you want.
I might throw some shade because I don't want to give you guys too much
No.
insight. But I will give you real shit.
I'm not gonna go on certain players that we like we just did with. Pretty
Yeah.
much, we're done with the top 15. Like that's it. So the next picks, and this goes all the way to 30. Michael Crabtree, who we harped on a little bit. Jarvis Landry, Alshon Jeffrey, Tyreek Hill, Emmanuel Sanders, Calvin Benjamin, Keenan Allen, who you put at the top because of, but we'll talk about that later. Devontae Adams, Terrell Pryor, Golden Tate, Fitzgerald, Edelman, Brandon Marshall, Willie Snead, and Deshaun Jackson. Again, ADPs are all over the place. Out of that group, I probably said a bunch of names. You probably didn't even listen to it. I'll talk first, so you can kind of catch up.
Did you say Martavis Bryant in that group?
I did not say Martavis Bryant in that group, and you can talk about it later. But Martavis Bryant, he's going up there right now in the 5th round, but he's not even been reinstated into the league. So why even put him up there? Why are you gonna draft a guy that's not even in the league right now? Now, if Martavis Bryant is in the league, just going on it right now, are you gonna draft him right there in the 5th round?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
I feel like I have more confidence in Martavis Bryant than Brandon Cooks. I'm that high on Martavis Bryant.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah. Bro,
Yeah,
Martavis Bryant.
Well, Martavis
has
Bryant
all the
will never
tools.
go above the 4th round. That's the thing. With Brandon Cooks, you have to take him in the 3rd latest.
Bro, Martavis Bryant has all the fucking tools to go and finish top 10. He really does. It would not shock me at all.
So out of the guys that I've just named, I mean, we could talk every wide receiver for days. Guys, just very, very quickly, let's go down the list very quick. Alshon Jeffrey finished 52nd last year in terms of scoring. He only played 12 games last year for Chicago, 821 yards, 2 touchdowns. What do you see him doing in the Eagles' offense?
I say it's
1 year deal.
definitely a bump from last year. I think Wentz is a slight improvement. I think that offense is actually going to have a good year.
So I'm gonna say this prediction. Mind you, he has to play every game of the year.
Yeah, that's all we're doing.
I think he definitely has top 15 upside, bro. You got to think like he's that main guy over there. Everybody wants to draft a guy that's getting the most targets on a team, and he is.
Would you take him over Tyreek Hill?
Yes, hands down. I don't trust.
Why don't you like Tyreek Hill?
I don't trust him. It's not that I don't like him. I like him, but I don't trust him.
I mean, he finished 15th. He finished 15th last year. He didn't have the yards for receiving 593, 6 touchdowns. He rushed for 3 touchdowns as well. They got rid of Macklin over there. You don't think that Kansas City's going to focus more to try to get him and feed him the ball, Tyreek Hill?
If we had a real commissioner that gave us like points for returning touchdowns and shit, I might think about drafting him, but we don't, so I won't.
Well, you know, you can also come into the draft day and make a presentation on that as well.
Copy.
Keenan Allen, he's in that group of that tier right there. He could be right under that last tier we just said. What do you see about him? I know he's coming off an injury. People might even take him in the 3rd round as well. They might take him over an Allen Robinson. Maybe some people might like him over Sammy Watkins. That is how people feel sometimes. What do you think?
I definitely like him over. What was the first name you said?
Allen Robinson, of course.
Definitely over Allen Robinson. Sammy Watkins is kind of a toss-up because they're both an injury risk, and I think Watkins is a better player. But I could understand that. When Keenan's on the field, I mean, he's the number 1 guy there. The emergence of Tyrell Williams worries me a little bit. And Hunter Henry stepped up in a big way, too. And Gates is still there. I mean, he's not gone.
That's a good offense.
I mean, that offense is going to produce points. I'm just not sold that Keenan's job is safe. Like, he's going to walk right back into all those targets that he walked into 2 years ago.
Any thoughts of Keenan Allen?
I like Keenan Allen since I haven't owned him very much. Like a guy like Ton, he fucked Ton last year. I think he's off Ton's draft boards. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I've owned players that were hurt, like Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins off my draft board. He fucked me last year. So I didn't own Keenan Allen. I would take him this year. I would roll the dice on him.
Devontae Adams finished 7th last year in standard scoring. Devontae Adams, just real quick, had just 3 yards under 1,000, but he had 12 touchdowns last year. And that's with Jordy Nelson being the top wide receiver, too, in the league. Do you think Devontae Adams is, again, a top 10 wide receiver, yes or no?
No.
No. Simple. Okay.
I will say this: he could do it again. I
Yeah.
mean, we saw it in the past years where James Jones was stepping.
So do you think that's a fluky season?
Yes. Well, here, let me just make a quick point on that. Randall Cobb stepping up and taking half of his work is more likely to me than Devontae Adams taking all the work again. And I don't think Randall Cobb will be a super fantasy relevant player, but I would bet on that side as opposed to the other side. I think the price for Adams is a little too high right now.
Larry Fitzgerald, do you think he is a top 20 wide receiver? Again, he finished 16th last year. He's contemplating retirement. He's getting another year older. And it all depends on Carson Palmer's health as well, too, and how that offense works. Do you think he finishes in the top 20 again this year? He's going 27th.
Top 20?
27th in the wide receivers.
He's right on the line of 20 to me.
Right on that line.
I think he's there.
You have 1 more minute to make your picks.
No, he's going to make it. We got to finish the wide receivers first. We can't get off track. We're almost done.
All right, copy.
Just hang tight, guys.
Hang tight, guys.
Yeah,
he lied about making his pick, so.
Well, you know what? If I didn't have that malfunction that was going on, it
Sure,
would have saved
it's
us
a good
about
point.
30 seconds.
You gotta think about
Already moving on because we're already done with that. Brandon Marshall, he finished 51st last year. I mean, that Jets team was, you know all about it, Corey. He's 29th wide receiver off the board. Now, with the injury to Sterling Shepard, he goes up, right?
His draft stock fucking rises. First down machine.
Do you take him over a Tyreek Hill? Do you take him over a
Hell
Calvin
yeah.
Benjamin? Do you take him over a Golden Tate?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
Jarvis Landry.
Yes, bro. Brandon Marshall is a fucking stud. I don't care if he's 50 years old. Brandon Marshall used to be drafted way up here. Bro, he's a fucking steal.
Give me those same questions. Who I would take him.
He is a fucking steal.
You lost your questions already.
Okay.
I did.
No, he did.
Okay, go.
Because I want to ask you this.
No, I want to hear. No, give him that same question.
I have to say, all those players that you said you would take him over, I wouldn't take him over any of those guys except Jarvis Landry.
That's the only one that I would think about not taking him over, but I still would take him over. So you're fucked.
We're on different sides, man.
Guys, Julian Edelman.
What the fuck are you drinking?
Julian Edelman always finishes just right outside the top 20. He's consistent. He actually, just looking at his stat right now, he had 160 targets last year. Where are you, Julian? Right there. 160, 98 catches, 1,100 yards, but only 3 touchdowns receiving. What do you put him on a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3? Where do you rank him?
Wide receiver 4.
Why is that?
I don't like him.
But I mean, he's pretty consistent. You know,
he's gonna get the ball, gonna get the targets, but what week is his? You never know.
I mean, 8.1 points per week. Like that's. I mean, you're kind of getting what you're getting out of him, like a lower end wide receiver too.
Like, I'll be honest with you, he probably outperformed every wide receiver I had on my team last year, but I don't like him.
Guys,
I don't know what week to play him on.
Guys, last one, and this is up for debate for you guys. One of like the most, not the most talked about wide receivers, but someone that's very interesting, a Terrell Pryor. Where do you see Terrell Pryor going?
Did you see that catch in preseason?
Where do you see Terrell Pryor going? He's very interesting. He finished.
You see that catch?
He finished 21st last year with Cleveland in 16 games. He had 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also rushed in for a touchdown because he did play quarterback. Don't forget that as well last year too. He's a transition from quarterback to wide receiver. He's going on a team now in Washington with Kirk Cousins, who's slinging the ball. He's throwing it around. He's his number 1 wide receiver. They got rid of Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson in Washington. He's the number 1 wide receiver over there next to Jamison Crowder. He got paid. He's there.
Cleveland is so stupid for not giving him money.
And Kirk Cousins is also on a, I know contract years don't matter, but Kirk Cousins, he wants to earn his money for next year as well. He's Pryor, big guy. He should be a red zone threat. What do you guys see in Pryor?
You want to go first, Alex?
No, you go.
All right, I love Pryor. I'm going to make it short and simple. I really, really love Crowder. I love his upside, but I wish he was in like the 4th to 5th round because that would be an automatic pick. In the 3rd round, you got to question it because there's guys around him that are like guys that have higher ceilings than him. But I think he's going to have a very solid season, and I would love to have him on my team. Just that value hurts me a little bit.
Where would you pick him?
I would love to pick him in the 4th round. I think he's an automatic pick.
I agree.
Automatic.
I go both ways on this just because Washington is a weird situation to me. So he walks into a situation where I'm afraid that he'll get typecast and he'll only be the deep ball guy. I think he's capable of running all the routes. I think he's a very talented guy. But Jamison Crowder's emergence really scares me because I think he's a very capable, he's going to take all the intermediate work in my eyes. And then emerging is Josh Doxson. I don't think he'll be fantasy relevant, but I do think
pick, right?
Yes. So I'm nervous about the situation. I think Terrell Pryor is a great player. I'm just not sure. And I agree. That offense is good.
Do you think they're going to be throwing more than running because they don't really have a running back? So
they already started doing that
But you can still have Crowder and Pryor doing like a 1-2 combo where they're still like top 25 guys.
Alex, at best, where do you think Pryor's going to finish?
His best?
Yes.
I think he could crack the top 15 at his best.
Yeah.
Wow.
He'll have wide
Because I think here's the thing, right? This is the other side of the coin. So I think his role might be a problem. But on the other side, he walks into Kirk Cousins, who is one of the best deep ball quarterbacks in the NFL.
Easily.
So not only can he sling it out to him on those deep routes, and that offense is good enough where they can't double cover Pryor, which he was double covered when he was over in Cleveland. He should see some better looks. So he's going to see less targets, but higher quality of targets, and that's a big deal. But then you're kind of, when you lose the volume, you have to make gains with every single target, and I'm nervous that he can be that elite guy.
So now that's been said, go to our last tier, which is like this is where you're gonna pull your sleeper. There's 2 guys I just want to talk about really quick that are like, this is from 33 and like on, that I want to talk about. Tyrell Williams that you've kind of already talked about. He finished 12th last year in standard scoring. Right now, he's a 39th wide receiver off the board. Do you think that he was just part of the system because Keenan Allen went down, or do you think he's something real?
He was definitely part of the system. He hit the fucking lottery. Keenan Allen goes out week 1. Is he talented? Yes. But is he going to get the same amount of targets as last year? Absolutely not, especially if Keenan Allen is on the field.
Sheets?
Tyrell Williams is a real deal. I have no... I would not... I think there's smart money to throw if you had odds to say Tyrell Williams finishes with better fantasy production than Keenan this year.
Last one here that I want to talk about. He's a 50th guy for wide receivers off the board from Tennessee, Rashad Matthews.
Yeah.
He finished last year 13th. He had 945 yards and 9 touchdowns. Now they just got Corey Davis over there, who's coming. He's coming off 54th. He's there supposed to be their number 1. Does Rashad Matthews continue that tick of 9 touchdowns and 900?
You're forgetting the more important acquisition, which is Eric Decker, which takes all of his red zone work.
So now
I have another question.
Go ahead.
It's a lot simpler than what you said because we can't predict that. Do you think that Rashad Matthews, is that his name?
Yep.
Do you think that he will be on a starting roster week 1? One of our guys, 12 guys? Do you think he will start?
No, I don't think so either. I think, but
starting roster.
Starting. He'll be on someone's bench, absolutely. But maybe he's not starting. But that's something to look at. I mean, he was top 15 last year, and then all of a sudden
he had a
disappears.
decent year in Miami too. Before that,
they get Decker. They have Corey Davis, and all of a sudden he disappears. Wouldn't that help him out? Maybe he's not the focal point, but he's still something.
He's not.
He will be a flyer for the bye weeks, whatever. I like it.
He used to play for Miami, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
All right. So guys, everyone, I'm gonna say it first, and then you guys can go after that. From here on out, we already talked about pretty much the top 30 wide receivers. You guys can pick 1, 2, 5, 10 sleepers that you want to talk about. Anything else you want to talk about, we can wrap this kind of up. I'll go first for wide receivers that I kind of like at the end here. Kenny Britt, he's going to Cleveland. We talked about this, me and you. Corey Coleman's going to be maybe the new guy that takes over. He even said it himself. We talked about this off camera. You had Josh Gordon. You had Terrell Pryor, both the number 1s in Cleveland. Corey Coleman's a new number 1 in Cleveland. Is he going to be that next guy? Kenny Britt was top 25 last year, right at the 25 line. Is Kenny Britt coming in? Is he going to make moves? Quincy Enunwa, some people look at him on the Jets. He's the number 1 receiver. He did pretty well last year. But the Jets, I can't trust anybody on that team. I can't trust the quarterback play. How about a Tavon Austin? He's technically the number 1 wide receiver there, but no one can trust Goff. No one can trust wide receivers over there. You really don't know what you're going to get out of Tavon. I still feel like he has talent, but he's going way down there. I think he's a good late pickup, though, to stash on your bench to see what happens. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. John Brown, I think he went out today. I think he's hurt or something like that. Just came through the wire today.
He's dinged on his quad. It's not serious, though.
Other people looking right now, Jeremy Maclin. He was ranked 75th last year. He's going to Baltimore. He's got Flacco with him. Can he rise up? Can he be a top 25 guy? And lastly, I like Pierre Garçon. He's going with Kyle Shanahan's offense. Last time was with Kyle Shanahan together. He had over 1,000 yards. I think that Pierre Garçon is someone that you can look up late, maybe stash on your bench as a wide receiver 4 or 5 that can actually give you some value. And you might be starting him as a wide receiver 2 or 3 later on. Go ahead.
I'm just going to shoot one sleeper. I usually don't like rookies as sleepers, but I think Zay Jones in Buffalo is going to have a really good year. He's not going to be like a week-to-week starter, but matchup depending, like when he plays the fucking New York Jets, I might throw him in as my flex. You never know. I like Zay Jones. We'll see more about him in camp, preseason games. His name's going to be out there. Shoot a couple.
I got four quick. Zay Jones is one of mine, actually. I really like Zay Jones this year. He's the perfect kind of sleeper because you'll know his role in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then you can cut ties or you can dump him or you can bring him to your starting
Plus,
lineup.
that's a first-year coach. Coaches, like, they want to make their...
And they're not going to... People are still operating under the assumption that the Bills are this run-happy team. They got a whole new coaching staff. Who knows what's going to happen right now?
That's why the McCoy pick is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. So I got 4 quick guys. To me, Marvin Jones, who I took as a sleeper last year, has fallen 4 rounds from where he went last year, which I just don't understand.
He's top wide receiver.
He's still probably the primary red zone threat on that team next to Ebron, but other than that, I just don't see why his value dropped. I think he's a consistent 4th wide receiver. He'd be great. Adam Thielen is on my list too. I think he developed a really good rapport with Sam Bradford at the end of the year, and he's going to be a consistent guy all season.
Just quickly on that one, what about Stephon Diggs? Like, some people are very high on him.
Love Diggs.
So you love Diggs and Thielen.
Yep, I like that whole offense.
We talked in the quarterbacks that Sam Bradford had like a 71% completion rate ratio, which again we don't know what the attempts and stuff like are, but that was a great pick right there. Go ahead.
Randall Cobb, who's going way too low for me. I think Devontae Adams had that ridiculous so many touchdowns last year. I mean, even if 1/3 of those go Cobb's way, you're looking at a flex starter right there.
Cobb's only 26 years old, or 27, whatever he is. And he was a second rounder, and he's been falling off, dude. You can get him down like the 12th, 13th round right here.
My last guy is J.J. Nelson from the Cardinals, and I think that's you probably won't have to draft him. He probably goes undrafted. That Cardinals offense is going to bounce back in a big way, I really believe. Carson Palmer has had some great seasons with that team. He had an awful year last year. I think last year was the anomaly, and I think he goes back to sustaining 2 fantasy-relevant wide receivers.
I have one more sleeper right here, and it's for one person in the league. If you listen to these stats, you might want to grab him right down here in the 12th round. He had 586 yards. He only had 1 touchdown, but Victor Cruz, no guts, no glory. He'll ride you a championship. He's going to Chicago right there. That'll help you out.
All right.
That's all we got for wide receivers. That was a good breakdown. I know it went way longer, but I think it was actually good for stats-wise. I mean, it's really hard to break. I want to go over teams.
We're not done.
I think that was a really good segment right there. We went over. We could talk wide receivers all day.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Let's go to teams. So last week, and today we're talking about Gilman and Brophy, and last week you said Brophy's in the middle tier.
Yep.
And you look at the stats. I mean, he's above 500. Brophy's 34 and 32. Gilman is 1 game better, 34 and 30. What was it? 35 and Gilman. He's 35 and 31. So they're right next to each other. And I actually was saying this to him off camera beforehand. And I'm gonna kind of group them together. We can
so
talk.
who are we talking about first? I want to do one by one.
Okay.
I could write a book on both.
I'm gonna talk both first, and then we'll go one on one. We'll talk Gilman first. We'll give Brophy the last. We'll give Brophy the special entertainment. I just want to talk about how close these two guys are. They both came in the league at the same time in 2012, technically when we first started. And I know both of them were in this league before that, I'm pretty sure too. They both went 8-6 in 2012 with Brophy making the playoffs, going to the title game. Gilman went 5-8, 4-9 for Brophy. Gilman went 8-5, 9-4 for Brophy. 7-6, 7-6. 7-6, 6-7. Every year they've been 1 game off each other. They're pretty similar in the sense of that area. Let's just talk about Brophy first. You go right ahead. Gilman. Talk about Gilman. Talk about Gilman first. Gilman.
You want to go first or me?
Go ahead.
I'll go first if you want.
Okay, you could go.
Okay. I mean, last time on the podcast when we were talking nonsense, you said, who do you want? Who's going to be the champion? Who's this and that? Gilman, although he's gone 7-6 the last 2 years, he's 8-5. He had that 1 bad season at 5-8. He's there. He doesn't make trades during the season. He'll say the racist comments to Ton to kind of keep himself relevant.
This guy's thinking that
If but I'm not done yet. You guys are talking to each other. I'm not done.
If somebody comes to the draft and fucking Columbine's at the draft and Gilman survives, he might win the league.
No, I think he's gonna win the league this year. I think that he's been in the playoffs the last few times where I think he needs to get over that hump. I think Gilman needs to make that one trade. I think he holds on to his team too long and doesn't trade at the right time.
Nice guys finish last.
Gilman's not a nice guy though.
He is.
I disagree.
He's way
There's the nicer guys at the very bottom. If Gilman was a nice guy, he wouldn't be where he is right now. And Gilman is 5th right now in terms of winning percentage. So I think Gilman, and I talked about Wilcox, like Gilman and Wilcox are kind of similar. Like, they're going to get over that hump soon. They're going to make a title game. Maybe he won't win it, but I think he's going to get there. I think Gilman's someone who can draft and sit on his team for like 8 or 9 weeks and still be in contention for the playoffs. Like, that's the way I look at Gilman.
Okay.
Gilman makes the least amount of moves, the least amount of waiver moves, the least amount of trades, and he still makes the playoffs. I think that says something, especially in a league that someone is very trade happy. I give him credit for that. He has been in that quarterfinals matchup where he just needs that win to make the title game or the semifinals, and he's almost been there multiple times. I think he finally gets over that hump.
He never has.
He did take Le'Veon Bell, and don't remember that. Do remember that. He took Le'Veon Bell right up here in 3rd overall.
I'm aware.
Like, that might help him. He's guaranteed to take a quarterback if Rodgers or Brady falls there as well, too. So That's my 2 cents on Gilman. I think Gilman has a shot to make the title game. I think he has a better shot than Brophy, who we're talking about next, but I
What do
think
you
he'll be
think
there.
about Justin Gilman?
I think this is why I put Brophy in the middle tier, because I kind of just lumped them together, to be completely honest. I mean, they're consistently the bottom of the playoff tier. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it says something to be in the top half of the league consistently. However, I will actually put, I think Kamish talks about this all the time. Getting to the title game means something. Brophy's been to a title game and Gilman hasn't. So I think that goes a long way. I would put Brophy one spot ahead of him. Other than that, I just think that it is what it is. There's nothing too exciting to talk about with these two guys. Like, it is what it is. Like, they just hover
They're not
around the middle.
exciting.
Like, there's nothing really to
So
report
it's more
on.
exciting to
I
talk
would-
about
okay,
Howie
one thing.
and-
There is
and
one thing.
Wilcox?
It is, because at least we can shit on him. But no, so
You can't shit on Brophy?
for Gil, maybe I could.
Did you not see what he was saying today?
Okay.
Like, he makes no sense when he talks.
Well, let me just say this about Gilman. I do think that actually Gilman is he has the potential to be a really great fantasy player, because his drafts really are spectacular, because he rides them out for so long and always is in the hunt.
Which you said, I think I have the best draft out of anybody. Gilman.
I didn't say that. I said I could compete with anybody's drafts.
You said that you probably, out of all 12 GMs, I probably am the best drafter in this league. I think Gilman gives you a
That's
shot.
literally not what I
think
said,
Gilman
but
gives
okay,
you-
we'll let
I
Kamish
think
have
Gilman
this
gives you a
one.
run. I'm not having a moment. That's what you said, and I
Yeah.
think Gilman has a
Sure.
legitimate.
Yeah, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Do you want to say anything about Gilman, your former roommate?
He's definitely my top 2 favorite roommates. He's a good guy. Don't touch me.
Hey, remember, you lose a first round pick.
No, that's
You
all-
might not
He's
make your
about
pick.
to-
You're not
he's
even
about-
to
You
lose
wanna
your
make your
pick
pick
tonight.
right now?
You want to make?
You can pick
No,
it.
no.
Alright. Justin's a really good guy. He fucking knows
Wait a
football.
minute. Wait a minute. If he was a good guy, would he have you stayed to watch the Patriots?
I was just
game
gonna
here?
get to that. I was gonna.
All right. We think alike. We just
You
think
took the
alike.
words out of my mouth. If he makes the championship game this year, if he goes down 28-3, he's gonna fucking exit out of Yahoo, stop following anyways. How you doing? The fucking guy left the Super Bowl party. I'm not even a New England Patriots fan and I stayed here. What the fuck? He gives up when shit gets hard.
This is the reason why.
That's what I'm trying to say.
This is the reason why he's my roommate. He stayed. We were watching, like, literally right there,
Bro.
And you, like, we're hugging
Bro.
each other the whole time. And
When
it's
shit
just-
gets hard, Gilman
He
taps
gives up.
out.
Yeah, I agree.
Right here. He waves the white flag. That's all he's gonna do. Make some trades this year, Gilman, and I might fucking change my mind. But stop giving up.
How does it feel that you lived with 2 roommates, one who's the worst player in the league, and Gilman, who's someone who flakes? The term flake, I think that's a flake rate.
That
Bro,
was the origin, I
Bro,
believe.
they fucking brought me down. You saw what
You
happened
went
to me last
4-9.
year.
Cleveland
Bro,
Street hurt you.
every fucking day I woke up, this guy was telling me this thing in my ear. Alshon Jeffrey is the fucking #1 wide receiver in the NFL. This guy's telling me, oh, Tyrod Taylor is the best fucking quarterback of all time. Bro, I got fucked last year. Last year was a fluke. We shouldn't even fucking count it.
Do you blame your roommates or do you blame yourself?
100% I blame Justin, and Alex is a fucking drug addict. I blame Alex, bro. This guy needs intervention. Untitled is a fucking drug addict. He needs help. People, help him.
I know. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad the way.
I think
he's so.
Time out. Bro,
He's so
the league
bad,
the league is getting more legit year after year. Blah blah. All the guys in the league are decent people, blue collar people, have good jobs. Fucking cops. I think next year we should
Fake cops.
bring in a fucking drug
cops.
test.
I think so too because
Drug test, or you don't get a first round pick next year.
he's such a bad drug addict.
Time will fucking fail with flying colors.
Byes is such a bad drug addict that he left his phone on the train. He left the phone in the car. That his other drug addict friends are gonna come back to find the phone with him and left him there.
Alex, you have bad friends. Right here, we're your friends. We know that you need help. If you need help, you want to go to fucking Weed Anonymous, we will help you, bro.
Were we talking about Gilman?
Maybe you should fucking Alex, maybe you should fucking trade away all your assets
But here's another
for
thing.
fucking league fees back. We'll give you your $250 back. You could get yourself help, bro.
One side you had a drug addict, and the other side you had a booze bag. You had an alcoholic,
That's
and
a
you were
drug.
both, and you were
Alcohol's
both,
a drug.
and like, yeah, the alcohol is a drug. You both had almost 2 drug addicts going at you last year in Cleveland Street.
Bro.
And that made you go 4-9.
Yeah, I got
You
fucked.
have to wear a dress because of them.
I'm not gonna wear it, bro. I feel like fucked up because I'll get kicked out of the military if I wear it. I don't want to get kicked out of the military,
That's a good point.
That's true.
so it's off. All right, next one.
Gilman, Skillman.
How about Brophy?
All right,
Okay.
let's talk about Brophy.
I
Well,
have some-
he wants to win the league, so he can actually go to the dentist to fix his teeth. Like that money means a lot to him.
That's fucked
And
up.
also,
Let's not attack people for their features.
Yeah, seriously.
I weigh 700.
No,
I weigh 700 pounds. I got a fucking LeBron hairline.
Well,
And I'm
I weighed 1,000 pounds and I fixed it. So.
But what I will share with you guys, while you guys were fucking blabbering about sleepers, I wrote a fucking poem about Brophy.
Let's hear. I was wondering what you were doing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go.
You guys mind if I share my poem? I'll make it short and sweet.
Go ahead. Oh, you have to get up.
Can
Should I
you guys
pause the
crack my
music?
arms?
Do you want me to
hold
pause
my
the
arms?
music?
Hold my arms back real quick. Okay, good.
All right.
All right. This is called "You Will Never Be Legit." Patrick, you like football, but you winning anything is a dream. After draft day, your team will look supreme. You should draft that quarterback from Green Bay, but Brophy is retarded. He will trade him away. Maybe you'll pick beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. But I'll offer you a trade and I'll steal him like Christmas. And I'm the Grinch. Your move's so bad the commissioner should put you on league probation. All I really want to say is thank you for the donation. God bless, Brophy. I love you. Thank you.
To be honest, to make that up on the spot like that, you were typing that out.
I
That
did
was
make
pretty
it
good.
up while we were-
That was pretty good. That was good.
I will recite it again at the draft.
I think you need to say that. We might have to frame that. Actually, like
weekly
right
thing.
here. Right here. What do you think about Brophy? You put him in the middle tier. You just, I mean,
Yeah,
you kind of
I
already
mean-
said like he's like that's it.
Well, yeah. To be honest, that's the thing with Gilman and him, right? They
Yeah.
both have a lot of potential because he has good drafts actually too. Like he is near the top of the drafting, like overall.
But he overtrades.
The trading is a problem, and I mean he's the. Yeah,
He's
we
been
talk-
one of
we
the guys
talk-
who's been speaking about. I'm sorry to interrupt you, and please don't get mad at me. He's one of the guys as well that said, "I wish I knew what the league was like if I just drafted and didn't make any trades. What the points would be." And I think Brophy honestly would have a case to be a top 4 team
Right.
after his draft.
I think
Go ahead.
Gilman and Brophy are a
Like
good
the best
example
type.
of how in-season management affects your team and why you can't win through the draft because they're the two extremes, right? So Gilman never trades. Brophy trades too much when he has high. So he wants to sell high all the
Brophy's
time.
a good drafter. He's
I
a
agree,
good drafter.
but they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. So they're both good drafters. One never trades, one trades too much, and then they both end up in the exact same spot.
So you guys were saying beforehand, I was trying to lump them together, and you're like, "Oh, talk one-on-one." They're the same guy, almost same team. Which team brings more to the table for this league, Gilman or Brophy? Like, if we had to get rid of one of them, who stays, who goes?
Whatever Alex says, I'm gonna disagree on.
You gonna play devil's advocate?
What do you say, Alex?
Depends what your standard is for the league.
What do you
You
say,
know what my
Alex?
standard
What do you
is.
say, Alex?
So because Babs loves drama, I would say keep Brophy because he's a fucking knucklehead and he will start shit all the time. And he's not afraid to speak up. He's not afraid to talk shit. But Gilman's definitely a. Never mind. I don't know what to say it.
Nah, this year, Brophy is gonna be the most active guy in the league. He got a lot of work hours this year. He's gonna be fucking working overtime and shit. I don't know. I'm nervous.
I disagree, and I say that I'd rather keep Gilman. I like. You say I like drama. I actually don't. I'm very drama free.
Oh shit!
But-
And Kim Kardashian doesn't like sucking black dick.
But if I had an ass like Kim Kardashian, I'd be showing that off all the time too.
What does that have to do with anything?
He's just going off, you know. He's being dramatic again.
I like competitiveness.
He might quit.
I
commissioner
like
right
to
now.
have a competitive league.
He might
Gilman is competitive every single week, every single year. He's competitive,
Let's
even
play
if it's
rock, paper,
5 and
scissors right now.
5 and 8.
Commissioner. Who's commissioning next?
Yo,
Commissioner
well,
again.
no, you just
Can I
finished
just
saying
say-
that
can I just
Brophy
say
and Gilman
something?
are the same. Then how are you gonna say?
But
one's
you just
competitive and
said
one's
you
not?
said I like drama and shit. I like actually a competitive league.
They're the same though. You just said. So what does it matter? You have to decide on something else if you said they're the same.
Brophy brings nothing to the table, bro.
That's a lie.
If you read some of the stuff he says, he's like legitimately the R word.
But that's why it's
I'm not gonna say the R word, but
That's
he's the
why
R
it's
word.
funny, dude. That's why I want it,
It's
because
not-
he causes drama.
it's
People are
not-
like, what the fuck are you trying to say?
Okay, we established that Brophy is the taco of the league. 100%.
When
David is out, Brophy is in.
Look,
He's the fucking Taco Bell of the league.
Gilman, Brophy, we talk about you. It means nothing. It literally means nothing. Do something better. I think that Gilman's gonna end up being the champion this year, and that's what I'm saying.
All right, can we get
Is
to
Brophy
Alex
ever gonna win a title this
Can
league?
you go get your fucking sticker? Because I want to see this fucking
right.
pick.
Moving
see
on,
this
I
pick.
think we're gonna be making our
Because me and you
number.
gotta digest this
Yeah.
fucking pick.
I also have to take a shit. It smells like ass down here.
What color is this pick gonna be?
Can't tell you that. That's racist, bro.
You gotta close your eyes. I think we should stand like off the. We should give him the board. Let's give him
But
the
don't
board.
you want them to get our reactions?
Well, he's gonna be the one that puts it on the board, and he's gonna be the one that stands there. I'll stand over
Okay,
here.
give a little introduction too on your fucking pick.
Plus, I need to like sit up for a second. Oh. Quick up the one. Up the one.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna make it official. This is my pick. It was wide receiver week or wide receiver podcast day, so I brought the jersey. But yeah. So with the 7th pick, or I'm the 8th pick. 8th pick.
Oh, we get drunk.
8th pick. Spreadsheets selects officially Devonta Freeman. Nothing. Okay. See you guys.
Do you want to talk about it? Like, do you want to talk?
I got nothing to say about it.
Corey's still trying to make a basket in there. All right, Devonta Freeman, not a bad pick at all. I think that if you're gonna go running back, that's a solid pick. It's better than Melvin Gordon. Why didn't you go wide receiver? Why didn't you go Jordy? Why didn't you go Evans? Why didn't you
I will.
You're on the fucking hot seat now. You already made your
my
pick.
personal belief.
So Baez is on the clock.
Baez is on the clock. He knows. He knows. He knows. Baez knows he's on the clock.
How
So-
does he know? Tell him.
Commissioner knows that commissioner told him that on the podcast he was on the
So
clock.
here's my thought process. I'm extremely high on Devonta Freeman this year. I think even though last year he had a very good year, I think he was 6th ranked running back last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He also, his touchdown rate was significantly lower than the league average and his career average. So he's a candidate to increase his touchdown, his red zone rate, which Tevin Coleman was at an unsustainable rate. So I think he's going to lose some. Freeman's going to gain some. I'm really high on Freeman. I think he's significantly higher than Melvin Gordon.
Nah.
So I'm taking Freeman because not only there's still plenty of the wide receivers that are still left. I was thinking about AJ Green, but at the same time, I think he's a step above. But I think all those receivers are similar, so we'll see what happens. So I'm willing to pass that down the board, and let's see what the rest of the league is willing to do.
I mean, I think that's a great pick, especially if you're gonna go wide receiver next. Everyone's trying to go running back heavy. I mean, we already have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs have gone, and only 3 wide receivers have gone. And I think running back will go next. I mean, Baez is on the clock. I think running back will go next. It kind of seems. I mean, Melvin Gordon's the obvious choice right there if you're gonna go running back. Wide receiver.
Obvious choice.
Well, what are you gonna go right now? The next pick right now.
Not my pick.
Not his pick.
I
But the next one.
I know the next pick. That's right after the pick before him. But I don't know if he's the obvious choice.
I mean, he's the obvious if you're going running back.
I think Howard has a little bit more upside.
I think Howard's going to drop a little bit. I mean, you got to remember, Baez has 2 picks now coming up in the next 4.
I know. I traded him the pick, so I know what he has.
I don't think you remember that at all.
Okay.
What do you think about Freeman going there?
I like the pick. I think it's a little bit of a reach.
I would agree.
But sometimes reaches are okay.
Yeah.
A first round reach is a little bit surprising, but the guy wanted a fucking running back, and he got a guy with top 5 potential.
To be honest, just to
Don't touch me.
I didn't mean to. That was an accident. I'm just super high on Freeman. It had nothing to do with what position I wanted. I'm actually high on AJ Green too. The problem is I think AJ Green is closer to the rest of the wide receivers remaining than I think Freeman is to the rest of the running backs remaining. I think Gordon is in the same tier with the Ajayis and etc.
Your next pick is 1, 2, 3,
8
4,
picks.
5, 6, 7,
Next.
9.
9.
Right.
Yeah.
So 8
He's
picks
got
go
8 picks
before
in
my
him.
next pick.
Two things I want to ask you.
So you'll get it.
Two things.
Maybe a 2.
What do you think Tevin Coleman's gonna go? What do you think's gonna go?
This is something he doesn't want to say. But
No, because honestly, I feel like the owner of Devonta Freeman should not draft
Okay.
Kevin Coleman.
Really?
Yeah,
If you drafted him,
because you're investing too much capital in one backfield. Because you have to take him in the top 8 rounds.
if you drafted him somehow, some way, you're trying to advert us, would you start both of them together?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. And the second question.
Tevin Coleman last year was extremely touchdown reliant, and we're not in a PPR league. If we were in a PPR league, he's worth a flex.
Second question.
What if they play the Jets? Because they are.
I mean, yeah, then sure, why not? But I just would. I wouldn't feel.
You just said you liked AJ Green. He falls to you in the next. No one takes him. He falls to you right there. You're taking him.
If you guys don't take AJ Green, you're fucking dumb.
So now you're not getting him. Would you take Jordy Nelson there in the next pick?
Sure.
Mike Evans.
Sure.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, no matter what, there's gonna be. Would you go running back?
Sure. Dude,
Would you go running back, quarterback?
if we've talked about this in the last podcast, I don't have a strategy. I take
You
the
just
players
go with
that I think are the
what's
best.
there,
I think Devonta Freeman is the clear best player on the board. I thought before I would have taken him before McCoy, no question.
How does it feel?
Unquestioned.
How does it feel that Dupe
I agree.
already bought his jersey for Devonta Freeman?
I didn't know that until about an hour or two ago. Well,
He
obviously
did?
we all know that. If he did buy
Yeah,
a jersey,
he messaged me.
I'll buy it off you, bro, for half price.
Wow. So this is gonna slap him in the fucking face.
Yeah, that's a big slap to the former champ. Champ on champ right there.
Hey man, if we
Yeah.
gotta start a rivalry, I'm all for it.
Dude, but
He thought he was gonna get Freeman. Thought it was gonna be wide receiver.
All right, we
wide
gotta wrap
receiver.
this podcast up.
That's it, guys. We're already at an hour and 15 minutes in. It's like the same thing. It's hard. You know what? We have studs on this. When you have champions, you need the extra time to get everything in. I thought this was an awesome podcast.
Don't touch me.
it was a pleasure.
I thought it was great. I'm gonna give you guys. I'll give you guys 1 minute if you guys want it. You can either deflect or stop and say, "Hey, you're all set." Go right ahead at the 30-second mark here. Sheets, you go first. 1 minute to get anything in. You want to talk about wide receivers. You want to talk anything about the league. This is your chance to talk. Go right ahead right now.
You know what, man? There's not a ton to say. I put my fucking name out there, bro. This is a reach by most standards. If you look at ADP, I'm fucking coming for blood this year. I'm taking all the reaches. I'm taking all the risky picks. I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't need my top picks. Last year I lost 3 of my 4 top picks, and I still made the playoffs, and I won a playoff game. I'm fucking coming for it this year.
Sound
bro.
very country.
That's it.
That's
So
it.
he was cutting a promo for himself.
Yeah, I
He
think
wasn't
so.
addressing the league. Okay.
Go right ahead. You got a minute right here, starting in 3 seconds.
I just want to address the league, and I want to address the commissioner. I want this guy to know that everybody loves this guy. This guy loves attention. He loves drama. He loves people kissing his feet. Tom sucking his dick. He loves it. Todd, you will never fucking be the commissioner. We will never have 2 fucking flexes. You're fucked up in the head. This is our commissioner. He's fucking staying for the next 10 years. He signed the contract before the podcast. And that's that. There's absolutely nothing. I will shit on this guy. I will fucking bury him alive. But I will dig his ass up right after. And this guy is our commissioner. This is my commissioner. That's my...
Don't touch me. Or else
That's my commissioner. That's my commissioner.
Damn right.
I love you. LOL forever. Cheers.
I like to just say that I think it's not fair if someone wants to step down and just be a GM in this league. I like doing things for this league, like the podcast. I like doing drafts. I like doing this and that. I think that sometimes at this league, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I have a couple demands, we'll say, but if we can reach an agreement, it might make things a lot easier. It make things a lot easier on me for a commissioner to go forward. I think that this league could thrive better with someone else that has better ideas than me. I think we've gone so far with me there that someone else can step in. That if the right person stepped up, we'd be fine. At the same time, I don't think it's fair that no one wants to step up. I think when people are questioning you as the commish, I was there to, hey, give it to me, I'll take care of it. I'm surprised that no one in this league wants to step up. So, I mean, we'll talk August 20th. I mean, we'll see what goes from there. I'm glad that the podcast is back, and I'm glad you 3 came on.
Good.
That's it, guys. Take care. Next podcast is actually going to be coming up this Friday. Willie Cox.
He's stepping into the commissioner's corner.
He's stepping up
Holy shit!
to the Commissioner's Corner. The next podcast, it's gonna be a free form for Willie Cox. We'll talk his pick. We'll talk about the league itself.
He'll draft the pick live,
He's drafting his pick live. I think he's either gonna wait till we could have a bunch of people here. We could
It's
just
gonna
be
be a
and
party.
him.
It's a party.
It's a party that Willie Cox will be here for. He'll get some spotlight time, especially him not being at the draft.
I want to pick his fucking brain.
Absolutely fine. I think Willie Wilcox should have the floor here, and I think there should be anyone that wants to come and sit down.
I think the next couple of days we should all be able to submit questions to you, text message them to you, whatever, and then Wilcox has to answer every
I agree.
question.
The next podcast,
It's a Q&A.
next podcast is not about like
So
we already.
next podcast is gonna be 2.5 hours.
Next podcast was about we already did quarterbacks. We've already did wide receivers. We did running backs. Tight ends and all that will come a different day. I'd rather have a free form for Willie Cox. Are you counting there?
Sounds great.
All right, that's it. That's all we got to say. Thank you for watching.
God bless.
Whoa!